The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Good morning there, Fall River, and good morning, Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm CJ.
Haircut. So.
Yeah, I know.
So. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
Or at least someone pretending to be CJ. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I see that you're still, you survived your surgery, so.
Yes.
Now we can get down to the business at hand of spreading slander and libel.
Oh, I know. It's a wonderful thing. Just so you know, Chip, there's a couple of second delay between you and I because obviously I'm at a remote location. I'm hidden in a safety bunker so that the marauders of drones don't find me and blow me to smithereens. But I'll tell you, it's definitely been an interesting day. Today, I could hear the entire control room and we've been setting this up. And it's nice to know that I can still do the show for the next couple of days until I can get in the studio next week. My surgery went very well, and I want to thank all the community that made a special trip out to the hospital to actually find me and give me their well wishes. And later in the evening, I was attacked by the control room staff, and whatnot. And it was very interesting to see in the work. So you have to always laugh at the stuff I'm telling you. It's really interesting because I'm using this internet-based service called Google Hangouts to handle this. So when everyone and their brother decides they want to call, it comes over on this thing, and I got to quickly get to it to kick them off. But I want to talk a little bit about last night's city council meeting. It was the poorest showing of citizens' input that I've ever seen in my life. Last night, it was about poison ivy along the walking path behind the ATMC. And the gentleman there spoke about, the poison ivy is now as bushes. And the city needs to get out there and do that. We have a lot of things we have to do, and we know that. But I think we need to prioritize. Another gentleman came out and spoke about the fact that he doesn't have a choice on cable TV. And because there's no competition, and that's the city council's fault, our cable rates are high. Hey, you know what? He may very well be right. And yes, it is the city council's fault. They never put it out to bid. So we deal with it the way we deal with it. But it's just been very crazy. They went to bond for $3 million for the Westall School yesterday. And from what I understand, they sent it out to research, which I think was probably a smart idea to put it off until they can get some facts. But my question is, why are we going to spend $3 million on an old building that was just about destroyed in a storm? Why are we going to waste the money? We've knocked down every small school in the city. And the teachers, being the people that they are, they want smaller classroom sizes. Just because they put the Westall in does not mean they're going to get a smaller classroom size. You know that.
$1 million, actually. Almost $4 million. And, number one, my first question is, why in government do we always pay so much? $4 million to put a roof on and to do other repairs and make it handicapped accessible. You could probably build a small casino for that price. And, but there's always a cushion. And the other problem I have is, ironically enough, last night I happened to turn on a local TV during the I believe it was the 11 o'clock news, and they had a video of either the Westall or the Wiley, that's another building they're looking at, and they had some video of the school, and it was deplorable. They talked about replacing the soffits and work. They showed a picture of the soffit with a pigeon living in it. The fascia board was gone from the soffit. They showed the window jambs and the paint. It hadn't seen a coat of paint in probably 50 years. And my question is, why are we going to spend, number one, way too much money, $4 million, rehabbing a building that we don't maintain? I want to know what the school department, what the Department of Community Maintenance, who's commissioned by the city of Fall River to maintain these buildings, has been doing with these school buildings. How can you have a school building with half the fascia board missing? How can you have a school building that hasn't seen a coat of paint on a window jamb in 50 years? It's obvious that we don't do anything. Well, I know what they're doing. They're taking that money and spending it elsewhere, like they do with everything else. It's an absolute travesty. Again, it shows the incompetency, the ineptness of government. And they want us to continue to give them more money under the guise of doing things. And what the problem is, everything we build, it's garbage. Look at Durfee. Durfee's 40 years old. They got to bulldoze the place. They built stations in the 1800s and buildings in the 1800s that are still standing. What do? And on top of that, all they ever do is lie. They have cushions. What happened? Last night I was told that Kathy Adviveris said during a finance meeting that we're nowhere near our debt ceiling. And we're in really good shape. Really, Kathy? Really? That's why they lowered our bond rating. That's why Mr. Gupta told someone that if we continue going the way we're going, that in 10 years we won't be able to pay the salaries and the retirement because, by the way, you underfunded the retirement, and we'd be going into receivership. Well, we're almost there now. We've been saying that. Mr. Nunes, and I have it in writing, in the minutes of the retirement board meeting, he said that they couldn't pay on time the retirement, even though it was appropriated in the budget, because they were having a cash flow problem. Well, people who are financially solvent do not have cash flow problems. But therein lies the problem, or as Shakespeare said, therein lies the rub. Everything is about debt ceiling. They're doing what the federal government has, and look what our national deficit is. They just continue to spend money, kick cans down the road, bond and bond and bond until we won't be able to bond anymore. We'll be in receivership, and this city will be an absolute disaster. And I'm telling you, I am sick and tired of it, and maybe because it's a political season, and nobody's paying attention. Maybe that's why people didn't go to citizens' input. But I'm going to tell you right now, look it. We know there's something wrong. Sam Sutter's having a press conference every 2 days, and nobody could find him for the last year. So we've got some issues in this city. It's time for the people to stop, because they're going to try to gloss everything over and BS everybody, and pay attention to the fact of look where this city is. And the bills just went out. I hope you all loved your trash fees, people. Well, come on, CJ, your turn.
That made the day, I guess, yesterday. Because Monday was a holiday, everyone started receiving them yesterday. And people were like, $120? Oh, no, $360, $480, $600, $720 bills. And remember, when they were proposing this, the city said, oh, we're going to bill you twice a year, 6 months at a time. But everyone got the bill for the full year, $120 a unit. I don't know if that's really a broken promise, or did they forget they didn't have any ordinance in place to allow for that? But then again, it gets to be very interesting. But Chip, you brought something up, and I have to say it. this is a city of lies, more lies, and lies on top of lies. But a very wise man once said, 3 things cannot be long hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. And I'll tell you, that speaks volumes. And maybe now the city council, the mayor, the school administration, the school committee, and the people of Fall River will finally start to look and see that it's the truth that matters. And it's the truth that we have to be sure are out there listening to and finding, because we don't get it from our elected officials. And their tirades by their supporters and their minions and their Kool-Aid drinkers gets to be very hateful and spiteful, but does nothing for the cause.
Well,
the cause is to make sure the people of Fall River are told the truth, honestly, and they base their decisions based on those facts.
well, you're right. Pay attention, people. Now, Sam Sutter has reversed his position on the senior drop-in center downtown, and it's a political season. And they got the money from elsewhere in the budget. Well, this is what they always do. The money they freed up from the senior drop-in center, they put somewhere else, and now they're playing Chinese checkers with the money again. So it's only going to be temporary. It's an election season. He knows people are furious at his lack of participation. So now he's calling a press conference to announce 2 bicycles that were donated to the police department. He's going to call a press conference for opening an envelope. And he's all over the place. He's ubiquitous now. You know, he's everywhere. And amazingly enough, the man who could not be found, the man who even built an office outside the government center so he could avoid the government center, even though he is the head of our government, now is everywhere. No matter every place you go, there's Sam Sutter. He's having press conferences. He's overturning. Well, how about the fact that he made that decision in the first place to close that senior citizen center? You know, these are the things we have to remember. And people, you know, continue to say, you know, I know that you were vilified for spreading slander and libelous statements. So I bring it on. Sue us for slander and libel. If we make a statement and we give you a fact, we'll show you where it is. If it's an opinion, it's an opinion, and everybody's entitled to one. But, you know, for the people who say that, you know, when we characterize Fall River as exactly what it is, a city in trouble, that this is slander and libel. This comes from people who make in excess of $200,000, who are rich 1% Republicans, who have lived on the political dole their whole lives. And I have an answer for them. If you think Fall River is so wonderful, why don't you, and I'll volunteer to take the apartment next door, why don't we live on 5th and Wade for about a year?
Nice neighborhood.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we go to 5th and Wade, where the night before last there was a shooting, somebody almost got bludgeoned to death with a baseball bat, and last night they were looking for the retaliation that was going to come from that thing. Fall River's beautiful, isn't it? You pablum-eating, Kool-Aid drinking clowns. You know, so I'm sick and tired of you people, okay? You know, you try to, look, I live in Fall River. I stayed here. I didn't have to stay here. I could have moved out years ago, but I didn't. And I care about this city, and this city does have potential. But I'm not going to bullshit myself about what we've got here. This city is a mess. It's got crime running rampant. We've got drugs running rampant. We've got rampant spending. And until we address these issues and stop with this rhetoric of Fall River's beautiful, well, guess what? It's not just CJ. It's not just me. It's everybody else in the world. Boston thinks we're a pack of clowns down here. We get reports from all over the nation ranking us in the top 50 in drugs, the top 50 in crimes. We had the one out of Virginia that said we were the 48th worst state for debt, and Fall River is like the second worst in the state. So, look, I'm tired of it. This is the problem. It's difficult to break the chains of fools when they revere what puts them in chains. And yeah, I understand. That you've got a nice gig. You live in your nice house. You never go to Fifth and Wade. You never drive around the poor neighborhoods. You've never been a victim of a crime. I went downtown last week and parked on a corner of Bedford and Purchase, which is, 45 yards from the city hall, from the post office. It's a highly visible area. My car was broken into, smash and grab. Some junkie broke into my car to get the change out of my console. Rifled through my car. I had glass all over the place, and everything in my console and glove compartment was all over the car. Just, we don't have that crime. That's baloney. People who worked out at a local gym down in the mill complex at Durfee Union Mills, I know at least 10 people who left that gym because they couldn't go there at night. Because every time they parked their car in an off-street area near the gym, there were 4 or 5 smash and grabs every night. Like I said, I challenge you. You want to go live on Fifth and Wade for a year? I'll do it. When I was a child, I lived in a cold water flat. We didn't even have hot water. My mother worked in a mill for 55 years, and my father worked on a road. And they worked every day of their lives and paid their bills and made a better life for me and them. But I grew up in a street, and I grew up knowing what it's like not to have enough to have a brand new bicycle, as did everybody else in my neighborhood. So you know something? You think Fall River's so good? Let's go live in the worst part of Fall River. And like I said, I'll take the apartment right alongside of you, and we'll see who's going to be there in 6 months. And if you think I'm angry, I am, because you guys are all full of crap.
Chip, you're so right, and people don't understand that we're not being negative. We're pointing out some of the biggest faults and problems that we have here in Fall River. And just because when you were chit-chatting away, I had gotten about 40 messages that our viewers at home cannot watch us on Channel 95. At 9:30 this morning, I had received a phone call from Keith Tebow, the station director, that Channel 95 was offline and Comcast was working on bringing that back online. But our show is broadcast live right now via the internet, and people are still watching us. So for those people who got the message that I just sent out, know that we're still here, and please stop with the conspiracy theories. It's giving me a headache.
It's funny, CJ, because, they think that we like to talk about this. It's like, I would love for Fall River to be Newton. But the thing is that you can't fix it unless you acknowledge it. The old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, we're broke, and we got to fix it. We can't continue to have a council that sits there and pretends, and now we got people reading from papers about litter, and it's campaign season, and everybody is giving out hot dogs and hamburgers and having press conferences and talking about the vision. And look, 20 years, I heard Jason Burns on the radio the other day complaining about the apparatus. It's a mess. And Sam Sutter responded, you're right. We have to have a long-range plan. Yeah, very long-range, like after he's the mayor. He's gone as the mayor. We'll start doing something about it. And Jason Burns was correct. He said, this problem is 20 years in the making. Well, the last time we got fire apparatus, it was 20 or 25 years, and I was the person who complained before the council to begin to buy new apparatus. And when we did that, I told the council that we had to have a program in place to replace this apparatus on an ongoing basis. And guess what? They never did it because they spent the money elsewhere. Just as I remember, and maybe you do, because you've been around a little while, I remember at one time they actually had a resolution, and it passed in a city council, that we were going to set aside a fund every year for road maintenance. And we were going to earmark money to keep our roads in great condition. Well, gee, whatever happened to that money? It went on a great hole that everything goes under. And this is the problem. People, you know, their answer is always to tax people who can't afford to be taxed anymore. And we've hit the wall. We have reached the point of no return. We're out of gas, and we're going to crash if we don't get to a new destination.
Yeah, you know, but Chip, the thing is that, you know, you and I spoke about this a couple of years ago. Other people in the city have spoken about it. People who have knowledge in this situation have spoken about it. If each department included in their budget equipment costs for replacement equipment, and they did that over each year, we could slowly replace the equipment we need at a reasonable amount of money and a reasonable expense. Nobody's saying to replace 5 and 10 police cars or 3 or 4 pumpers all at the same time. But you know what? If they had been replacing 1 pumper every 2 or 3 years, would we be in this situation? If we had replaced 1 ladder every 5 years, would we be in this situation? These vehicles, this equipment has a designated lifespan. All of our equipment is already beyond dead. You know, I mean, it's gone beyond the lifespan.
And you know, CJ, it's at public safety. And again, and then they always talk, I love when they always say, public safety is one of our priorities. Look, the police cars need replacing more often because, you know, they're on the road driving around the city patrolling 24/7. But they're also a lot less expensive than a piece of fire apparatus. Fire apparatus lasts a long time. But as you said, if you replaced 1 piece of apparatus every 3 or 4 years, it's chump change. You know, it's chump change because you put $150,000, $200,000 a year away for apparatus, and then every 3 years you can buy a truck, and then you decommission the oldest piece, and you maintain a serviceable fleet. Police cars the same way. Buy 3 or 4 every year. Rotate the fleet. But no. Why? Because guess what? They lie. They lie. You know, if they were Pinocchio, their nose would be at the sun already, 93 million miles away. They'd be burning the end of their nose off. They're so full of crap. The fact is, they don't care about public safety. They don't care about you. They don't care about anything except being a politician. Because the reality is, if they cared, we wouldn't have apparatus that breaks down every single day. We wouldn't have police cars that are falling apart. That would be a priority. What's a priority is giving $92,000 a year jobs to people that are working 18 and a half hours. Giving $70,000 a year jobs to people who work 18 and a half hours a job. It's bringing on mower staff because I need mower help. It's having a financial team that couldn't lead a horse to water. You know, they couldn't lead a one-man parade. Our financial team, better known as Mo, Larry, and Curly, you know, every time you listen to one of them, they contradict the other. So the fact is that, look, wake up, people. It's time to look at what's going on. It's campaign season. Guess what? The BS is normally about this high. Campaign season, it's through the roof. They are going to sling, and they are going to try every smoke screen, every diversionary tactic to take away the fact that here we go again. Here we go again. More money, $3.8 million for a school, and nobody's asking a question. Why did this school become such a mess? What happened? No maintenance on buildings, no update of apparatus and police cars. No, what do we do with all the money? And we've said it before. This city has gotten almost $50 million more over the last 5 fiscal years in revenue. What the hell are we doing with the money? And Earl's running around going, let's give them more with a Proposition 2.5 override. Pay attention, people. I mean, read the newspaper, listen, don't take our word. It's not slander. It's not libel. It's reality.
Reality, though, is, not what everyone wants. People like living in a fantasy world and their rose-colored glasses, thinking that this is the Fall River of the 1950s, where everything's wonderful, everybody's working, we don't have a problem. I mean, you look at the issue that the Herald News reported on this week about bus fares. People are complaining that the bus fare to Boston is $25 one way, and they can go to New Bedford and get a bus $15, or go to Taunton and get the same bus for $5. Number one, the $5 fee is a commuter fee, and it's only good for each trip for 30 days. But the basis of what Peter Pan was saying was, nobody uses this service. It's not sustainable. They're just about at a break-even point. Do you know what that message is to the people of Fall River? It's gonna stop. And then you'll have no service to Boston. And this is what the people don't understand. If you don't use it, you lose it. But the problem is, it's not that they don't understand it so much, they can't afford it. Because nobody in Fall River works. There's no money. How can you do things with no money? And then they're gonna promise us the waterfront is gonna be a boom to economic development. It's gonna create a tourist community. Tourism is the last bastion of hope for the poor and undeserving communities that reach out to it, because they're hoping that salvages their community, salvages their finances, and brings them back to a point of at least being able to function. Tourism is not Fall River's option. Tourism is going to be Fall River's death knell. It's going to be the final nail in the coffin.
Yeah, more BS to divert the public's reality. Ironically enough, on that show, when they talked about showed the video of the school, they also talked about Newport, Rhode Island. Newport, Rhode Island had one of its best seasons. They have numerous hotels. They said they will book to capacity the entire season. They made almost 36% more in revenue, the businesses. They collected, I forgot how much more in local taxes. They had a banner year. They had a banner year, and they're hoping it extends into the fall. But why did they have a banner year? Because of what we said on the show a long time ago. It's one of the premier destinations for tourism in the Northeast United States. They have the 12-mile drive. They have so much in Newport to offer. And the Tennis Hall of Fame and so many other things, and they have hotels, and they have so as we said, realistically, we're going to out-tourist one of the premier destinations in the world. It was the site of the Great Gatsby, and then we're also 30 minutes from the Cape. That's one of the problems at Fall River. Heaven forbid we look at stuff like containerized shipping, which we could actually make work in this city. No, we're going to keep holding out that promise, that apple, and dangle it in front of people to try to say, don't worry, it's going to get better someday. Well, that someday will not precede this city going into receivership if we stay on the path we're on. So I'm telling you, stay angry, vote in the primary. Let's send a message that we're paying attention, and things are going to change, and we're going to make the change, not you politicians. People before politics.
That's what we have to do, and we have to remember that. It's always people before politics. And our time is running out here, and I just want to say it's great to be back on the show. I'll be here again on Friday through this medium. I'm not too thrilled with it, but hey, it worked. But I'm going to be there. And I'm sorry to our Channel 95 viewers. This show will be rebroadcast on Channel 95, so please watch that.
See you later, everybody.
Talk to you later. Thank you very much for watching.
actually have him on here. You can. We have him on here if you want. CJ, can you hear me?
Nope.
We have.
So the macro didn't run. You can take that down. The macro didn't run, right? Okay. So just put camera 4 on the program. Luckily, I was keeping an eye on the clock. Have you stopped the DVR? Okay. Okay. All right. What? Just press camera 4 on the program. Press the. There you go. There you go. Okay. So I'm trying to figure out what happened. Okay. The macro didn't start, correct? Okay. I don't need the phone. I'm gonna hang up, Carlos. All right. The macro didn't start. Was Steve there when this happened? All right. Right. And now I'm trying to figure out why the macro didn't fire. I'm trying to figure out why the macro didn't fire. Yeah, I know. I know about that. But the thing is that the closing should have ran. Okay? So I'm trying to figure out why the closing didn't run. The music itself is on DDR1, and its progress should be the second audio file there. Do you see it? All right. Click it and hit play just to see if it plays. There it is. So that should have played at the end of the show. Okay? And you should have been able to carry that over to DDR1 or buffer 1 to figure out what happened there. And I'm trying to figure out what happened there.